Good day and welcome to week 4 of Nursing Leadership. Today we are discussing the creation of a healthy work environment and how that goes a very long way in influencing organizational culture. The next three slides are very interesting clips. I encourage you to watch each of them and gather the information from these non-traditional nursing resources. This first clip, Dan Millman, is a story about a gymnast who had a devastating physical accident and had to relearn his mission and vision in life. It's very powerful and gives a lot of food for thought. Don Miguel Ruiz is the author of a very small but equally as powerful book called The Four Agreements. And these are agreements that we have with ourselves and with others about how we behave and interact with others. The first clip is on PAL, and I encourage you to watch that. It's about being impeccable with our word and how words can really create a either healthy environment or a very toxic work environment. And this goes a long way in feeding into the next clip and Valerie Cade's work on the workplace bully. So again, I have placed these resources on PAL for you for your edification. Sullivan also talks about creating a healthy work environment. And being a nurse, she's very holistic in that approach and talks about the body, mind, and spirit. There's a very interesting book that I read called Pulling Together, 10 Rules for High Performance Teamwork. We're going to go through those rules very quickly today. The details are on your handout on PAL, so you don't have to take notes while you listen. But I hope you enjoy these 10 rules. They're very practical in nature. This author defines teamwork as the ability to work together towards a common vision. And I will again stress that as a leader, unless you have a very clear vision about yourself and your personal mission in life, as well as your corporate mission, you can't do a very good job in leading others. Teamwork is also the fuel that allows common people to achieve uncommon results. Rule number 1 is put the team first. We all need to honor and share each other's unique strengths and differences with the team to move it forward. Some people on the team are going to be very good at one thing but weak in another, and together we make a unified whole. And that really goes into working together for mutual gain. We have lots of mutual gains other than a paycheck and interaction with our peers. We definitely have mutual gain in terms of optimal patient outcomes, and we can work together to achieve those. Putting the team first also means sharing responsibility for both successes and failures. It's very important to clarify the purpose and the priority and to know what's our overall mission. What is our particular unit's game plan or our personal game plan? What is expected of each team member? You can't lead a team unless you know what's expected of each member. And how can each member contribute? And what are the constants that really hold the team together? Is it that every Friday morning staff meeting? Is it the once a month potluck dinner at somebody's house? What are those constants that really make a team cohesive? Virginia Burden has a very interesting quote that gives a lot of food for thought. Cooperation is through conviction that no one gets there unless everyone gets there. Rule 2 is communicate openly and candidly. It is very important for team members to give and receive timely and candid feedback. You can't correct something if you know don't know it's a problem. Having access to key metrics and performance indicators allows a team to benchmark against their peers. And fostering methods for team members to assess their own personal performance in a non-threatening way is very important as well. Weak and dependent groups shift responsibility and ownership, and that shift goes to an upward delegation of problem solving and conflict resolution. A really fantastic example was when I was at Lakeland Regional and I was working with one of the managers on a floor about a project. And we were in her office and someone knocked on her door, kind of almost like a grade school kind of complaining about what was going on the floor, a little squabbling between staff members. And she very clearly but very calmly directed that little group to work it out themselves and come report to her about the outcome. So she very artfully shifted that responsibility and ownership back to the team. She didn't stop our meeting and stop the progress that we were working on a project that would definitely benefit her unit. And I was just so impressed with that very calm manner in which she solved that problem. This is, of course, the antithesis. Got a problem? Give it to the boss to solve. And if the boss accepts solving that problem, then it really goes back to creating weak and dependent teams. Don Miguel Ruiz said, communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstandings. And again, we've talked several weeks about clear communication being the framework for avoiding conflict. Rule number 3 is to be part of the solution and not the problem. Effective teamwork requires that everybody leads and everybody follows from time to time. And this really hints at that synergy relationship between leading and following, leadership and followership, which we'll be discussing in the next coming weeks. This synergy creates a powerful dynamic that invites proactive leadership. All of us are leaders or have the potential of leaders, but all of us follow somebody as well. And there are times when others lead, and creating that good followership really impacts that synergy. Let's look at accountability and that personal ownership piece to solving a problem or coming up with a new idea. If we accept the responsibility for that personal ownership of a problem or a challenge, and we use self-control and not flying off the handle and being the drama queen, then that really feeds that cycle of accountability. Thomas Edison once stated, if we did all the things we are capable of, we would literally astound ourselves. I would like to share a personal story. About 14 years ago, I started keeping a quarterly dream journal, just a little list of things that were kind of outside the box that I dreamed about. Some of them I was going to achieve and some of them I wasn't, but it was a way to pull myself forward. And one day on reflection, I was just flipping through past years and I was shocked that for literally 5 years on my dream list, I had talked about writing a professional journal article in a peer-reviewed nursing journal. Well, I shared that with an accountability partner, and she just laughed and she said, girlfriend, you either make it happen or get it off your list. And that really challenged me to move forward. So I really had to examine what was holding me back. Was it fear? Was it insecurity? Was it lack of knowledge about how to go about doing that? So I sought out counsel from people who had walked that road before, and a year later I got something published. And I literally was astounded when I saw my name in print with the article that I had slaved so hard about in a national journal. So again, I would challenge you to think about the things that you are capable of that you're maybe not doing because something's holding you back. So again, this is that self-reflection piece that I hope you challenge yourself in the privacy of your own heart to look very seriously at what you're capable of that maybe you're not doing. Rule number 4 is to respect diversity. There are options that can be created and alternatives that can be identified when we respect each other's thoughts and ideas that are maybe a little different from ours. So I would challenge you to look at the assumptions driving your behavior about, oh, I don't like that person because they do things this way or that way, and really examine the feelings that you have about others. The power of empathy is a vital leadership skill, and unless you develop that skill, you will not be the leader that you quite possibly could be. So here are some questions to ask yourself. How well do you listen? How well do you value your teammates? How well do you understand yourself? And how well do others understand you? Do you have a relationship that's built on respect with others? Think about your unit's culture and how you say treat the transport people who come and move your patients all over the hospital. Do you have a respectful collegial relationship with them, or do you kind of look on them as a little bit more demeaning cog in the wheel? Jim Rohn once said, be different. If you don't have the facts and knowledge required, simply listen. When word gets out that you can listen when others tend to talk, you will be treated as a sage. Rule 5. Ask and encourage the right questions. Again, many people don't know what their organization's mission and vision is. So ask yourself, what is our mission and why? Who's on our board of directors and why are they there? What are the restraining forces in our organization for positive change and why do they exist? If we have a dream or a project, what resources do we need to accomplish that project? And that resource may not always be a physical, tangible object. It could be a relationship. Like I sought out a resource in a more senior, more accomplished nurse in getting counsel to get an article published. And what do our customers think of us? We tend to think of customers as external customers, patients and their families, the community. But what do our internal customers think of us? What do the lab or dietary or housekeeping think of our nursing unit? To raise new questions, new possibilities, and to regard old problems from a new angle requires a creative imagination. Of course, Albert Einstein was highly creative, and I am remembering when John F. Kennedy pledged to put a man on the moon, and a lot of people thought, how ridiculous is that? But he had a vision, he had creative imagination, and certainly he made that happen, and then some. This is a very interesting clip. It's on PAL. I hope you take the time to look at it and listen to what Daniel Pink had to say. Daniel Pink is an attorney by profession, but he was also the speechwriter for many, many years for Vice President Al Gore. He has some interesting thoughts, evidence-based thoughts, by the way, on motivation. Rule 6. Use a rational problem-solving process. Before you go making a judgment or making an analysis about something, be sure that you collect all your information and do your due diligence about a topic. I have found that the greatest help in meeting any problem is to know where you yourself stand. That is, to have in words what you believe and what you're acting from. And this is a very important concept that William Faulkner, who was a author and famous literary giant, had to say. This goes along with an interesting clip that I'm going to read to you from a book that Marianne Williamson wrote called The Age of Miracles. And she's talking about examining ourselves and knowing ourselves. She states, it's not as hard to heal from these patterns, and she's talking about childhood patterns that wounded us and have impacted us many decades later. And she talks about no spiritual victory is possible without healing from these patterns. It's important, she says, to be honest with ourselves and know where these wounds came from and who's 100% responsible for them. A wound that might have been inflicted on you years ago by someone else has turned into a character defect that is all yours now. To the extent that we project responsibility for a dysfunction outside ourselves, we cannot change it. Wherever the wound came from, however many years ago, its healing lies not in the past, but in the present. Your subconscious will continue to trigger the wound for as long as it takes. A 50-year-old, for example, experiencing a 5-year-old's pain unless you allow it to be healed. So again, that importance of knowing what you believe in and what you're acting from is critical. She continues her discussion by talking about taking a good look at your life right now. She states, if you don't like something about it, close your eyes and imagine the life that you want. Now allow yourself to focus your inner eye on the person you would like to be if you were living this preferred life. Notice the differences in how you behave and present yourself. Allow yourself to spend several seconds breathing in this new image, expanding your energy for this new mold. Hold your image for several seconds and imprint it on your subconscious mind. She continues to state that life, or new life, emerges not from strategy but from character. In realizing this, our key victories are internal. So I hope that you, again, get creative and imaginative about the leader that you can possibly be and critically use that self-reflection and self-examination to know what you believe in and where you're acting from. Again, those quotes were from Marianne Williamson's book called The Age of Miracles. Rule 7 is about building trust. Trust is a learned behavior, just like distrust is. And trust is a direct reflection of the team's leadership. So if you find that you're not a very trustworthy person, you may want to examine why that is and learn a little bit more about yourself. Leadership is stirring people so they are moved from inside themselves. It is stating goals that excite them and lift their sights. It is setting a personal example, putting enthusiasm into operation, communicating both ways, listening as well as talking. Rule 8, commit to excellence. And there are many resources that talk about excellence is not perfection. So don't get caught up in the I have to be perfect track. But a common commitment to excellence is really key in building and creating a healthy team. Having that united quest for ongoing improvement is really led by the leader. High-performance teams view honest mistakes as part of the learning process. Aristotle once stated, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. So I will challenge you, what kind of habits are you creating on your unit? Again, you don't have to be a formal leader to have a leadership role in nursing. So are you creating a healthy work environment by the words that you speak about others and to others? Are you creating energy with evidence-based practice? Are you bringing articles to your staff meeting on a habitual basis and sharing those, creating that zest for increased knowledge? There are a variety of things that we can repeatedly do to create excellence. Rule 9, promote interdependent thinking. No man is an island, and no one person has all the answers. So again, stimulate innovation and transformation and shift paradigms on your team by seeking out the opinions and thoughts and energies of others. Replace the old way with something entirely new. Rule 10 has to do with pulling the weeds. Vital components to teamwork take time to develop and grow. So if there's a quote-unquote weed on your unit, a culture of speaking bad about shifts, the night shift talking bad about the day talking bad about the nights, the weekday talking bad about the weekends, put a stop to that and pull the weeds. Challenge people to be impeccable with their word and to say positive things about their teammates. Learn to plant the right seeds, respecting the growing process, and behold the power of teamwork. Again, mission and vision has a lot to do with having a goal, moving people forward. Part of your project this week is working on knowing your corporate mission and vision, but many people choose to write a personal mission and vision. I have a dear friend, she's an older woman who's a third order Franciscan, and part of their process is to write what they call a rule of life, essentially their personal mission and vision statement about how they order their life. And so that might be something that you want to look at as well, as what is your mission and vision with your personal life, your professional life, and how does that fit in with achieving your corporate mission and vision? I look forward to your discussions on the discussion board, and I hope you all have a fantastic week.